Pachelbel Canon, probably one of the most widely recognized classical pieces of all time. You've probably heard it at many, many, many weddings and receptions and so forth. Have you heard it on the ukulele before? Well, perhaps you have. But what I've done with this arrangement is I've tried to kind of lean it out a little bit, kind of bring it down to just its basics. Now, Johann Pachelbel lived during the early 1700s. He was a Baroque composer. You know, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And no, seriously, he wrote and his music during what was called the Baroque period. And nevertheless, this piece, as well known as it is, wasn't even discovered till the 20th century. It laid hidden for centuries. Centuries, is that right? Yeah. Since the 1600s. So here it is, and it's coming to life in another instrument that Johann Pachelbel never even envisioned. It's essentially a very simple piece of music. He just plays it with a C. Actually, it's the Pachelbel Canon in D. Now, he wrote it in the key of D major, but I've transposed it to the key of G for the simplicity of this arrangement. So it's a C chord, goes to a G chord, goes to an A minor chord, goes to an E minor chord, goes to an F chord, goes to a C chord again, back to the F, and then a G, or G7. And that's it. It's only two measures and 8 chords. The entire piece is just made up of 2 measures of 8 chords. But it gets repeated over and over and over again. And that's why it's called a canon. That's the kind of structure it is. A repetitive figure that goes over and over again. And so you have the main theme, if you want to call it that. And I'm playing my E minor with 3 fingers, even though the chord grids often show 4. Like that. I use just the 3 fingers. Then it goes to an F, C, F, and then I play that again. So I play each section twice. That's the main theme. Then it starts going off into variations. Variation 1. Variation 2, Variation 3, and so forth. We could go Variation 4, 5, 6, and 7, but that would be for another lesson and another arrangement. But eventually, you work your way up the fingerboard in this song, all the way up to the 10th, 11th, even 12th, I think, fret at one point. And so here we are. Basically, if only you learned just the first 2 measures, you could astound your friends with the Pachelbel Canon. And just play that much. Just the first 2 measures. And then little by little you can learn the variations we have. Now each, on the first and the third beat of each measure, I'm starting off with a rolled chord. Arpeggio, roll, arpeggio, roll, arpeggio, roll, arpeggio. And I'm doing that with the thumb, index, and middle fingers. And I just slightly roll thumb, index, middle in that order. Kind of a harp-like roll all the way through. So all you have to have is 2 measures. And then you get into the variations, which are notated in the tablature. I'm looking on my copy here of the tablature. And I've also notated it above the tablature. I've notated the standard treble clef notes. You can play that on a keyboard if you wanted to. And then above that I've got the chord grids for just the basic chords. Now some of these change. In the first 2 measures they're pretty much the same, but down here when you get up to the higher variations of these chords, you're up on the 12th, 11th, 12th fret, then you get into what we call higher inversions. But they are the same chord, it's just that they're in a higher position on the fingerboard. So there you have it, the Pachelbel Canon in C. It's a great finger picking piece to learn. And maybe it's a New Year's resolution to start learning how to do some finger picking.